Kadir Ustun is the executive director of the Center Foundation think tank, and he joins us now from Washington, D.C. Kadir, good to have you on the show. Now, this is a country that is still sort of slightly getting accustomed to a new style of governance. You have these local elections that are, in effect, a stepping stone towards a future goal. How do you see these local elections playing out in Turkish political landscape?
As you know, these local elections today are the first ones since the installation of the new presidential system. So as we saw in the presidential system elections and today's elections, there are two main camps, two main coalitions who entered the local elections. So it's hard to compare the results to the results of the last local elections, because in some cities, some parties did not enter, did not put forward any candidates at all. But despite that, more than slightly half of the votes counted, we see that the ruling AK party protected its votes, actually slightly increased them as well. At the same time, because of since it's local elections and people are voting on the mayors, specific persons, then you see a different picture in some cities that Turkey AK party allied with the MHP, and you see MHP candidates winning, and in some other places CHP candidates are winning because they allied with some other parties. So it's a more mixed picture in terms of who specifically won in each city, but overall you see AK parties overall sort of acceptance and support despite the recent economic troubles in the country.
Many articles in Western media had sort of pointed out that President Erdogan was facing the political fight of his career. Do you think this was a fair assessment, especially looking at the results we're seeing so far?
Well, for the past 5 years, we've had many elections, and in every election we see international media make some sensational claims. Yes, it was a very important election, but I didn't think it was, gonna be sort of yes or no for President Erdogan's career. But it was more important in the sense that next 4 years there won't be elections, and Turkey will be able to actually look a bit further than it has recently, and it will be able to make plans for the next several years. And I think that long-term horizon will have a better sort of influence on Turkey's trajectory in terms of economics, in terms of its foreign policy going forward. So I think these were important elections, and the ruling party keeping its votes, actually increasing them, is going to disappoint those who expected this would be a referendum on President Erdogan. So I think the support coming from the MHP with the initial results will likely continue in the next few years. So a lot of the rhetoric before the elections didn't turn out to be true, even if AK party might lose in Ankara the mayorship itself. Mm-hmm. Or in some other cities, the mayorships may be lost for AK party, but it hasn't turned out to be a sort of referendum on President Erdogan.
So the fact that Turkey will not be going to any planned elections, at least for the next 4 years, you're saying that Turkey could capitalize this in terms of foreign policy, in terms of the economics. You're out there in Washington. How are these circles of power going to view the results of this election?
It has been sort of, because of the dynamics I just talked about, there was always a sense of, oh, let's see what's going to happen after the elections. Let's see what's going to happen after the elections. Obviously, President Erdogan's and his party's success have been undisputable in recent years, and international sort of political leaders have seen that and have made the judgment to sort of work with President Erdogan, and that will simply reinforce going forward, I think. When they're talking to him about foreign policy issues, Turkey will be able to talk more comfortably about the long term, several years down the road. And the most pressing issue, obviously, with the United States, especially since I'm based in Washington, D.C., right now is to figure out how the safe zone is going to be implemented in northern Syria, and also in terms of arms transfers to Turkey, F-35, and whether there will be sanctions coming down against Turkey. Those will be the sort of topics of discussions going forward in the next 6 months to a year, and I feel like these election results are giving more comfortable, stronger position to the Turkish side. President Erdogan won't look like he's troubled at home domestically, so this gives Turkey a stronger upper hand.
But President Erdogan has said that there's no turning back on the S-400 missile defense system. We know that there have been numerous senators sort of introducing bills to the U.S. Congress saying that they should actually impose more economic sanctions. If President Erdogan is to keep his word, it seems that we're headed down, or Turkey and the United States are headed down a more troublesome path then, reading into what you said.
Yeah, I don't mean to underestimate the seriousness of the disagreement between the United States and Turkey, but the good thing is both sides want to work this out. I think especially on the part of Congress, there's a lot of movement for pressure and sort of, let's say, punishment against Turkey. That, you know, there are political figures that want to do that, but the administration is not so keen on that. And I think the administration is willing to work with Turkey to figure out how it can be done, because there are many moving parts about S-400s and F-35, as well as the Patriots. So I think defense industry's involvement and the bilateral sort of negotiations going on might have a positive result on this. Again, I don't want to underestimate the disagreement here, but there are many moving parts, and if there's willingness on both sides to work it out politically, I think we might get somewhere in the next few months.
Okay. Kadir Ustun, thank you very much for joining us. You're the Executive Director of the Center Foundation in Washington, D.C.